What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord Dr. Professor Dark Joker here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. One Piece, Chapter 1171. So in this chapter, you see so Harald's dead. Loki's attack had killed him. Like it is brutal. Like it's freaking brutal what happened. Like you see like the blood on the ground. Like oh he's like he's dead. Like he's dead. So the battle's over. Like Loki's mad about like he had to kill his father, and that all Harald was wanting to do was help Elbaf connect with the world. And you see Shanks is obviously not happy, and and basically, and Shanks is like, because like obviously he regrets being born as part celestial dragon, and like Gabon's telling him, hey, don't, he's like, don't get into that habit again, don't regret his birth. So I guess Shanks has a habit of regretting that he was born celestial dragon. And then so Gabon tells Shanks to like calm down. And so but then and so then basically, so you see Emu talking with the five elders at the time because Siren's dead, and so he says basically that Harald was a rare warrior due to like because he had an ancient giant blood, and basically and he's like talking about how Harald's power, like his basically an ancient warrior with ancient giant blood, given you know basically the covenant, and then had been killed. Basically, he's like, wait, who killed it? Who was in it? What? So like, Emu, I guess, doesn't know that Loki's the one that killed. So I don't know how I don't know how Emu doesn't know that Loki killed Harald. So that leads to some questions about how much control he has. Like, can he like physically see what's going on, or is he just can he just sense the thoughts of like, hey, you have to like yeah. And so the elders are like, we'll investigate what happened in Elbaf. Like that basically says the abyss is still intact. Emu's like, no. He says, well, stop. More. He says more knights will die, and basically performing the covenant does inflict a cost on Emu. So it's like he is partly exhausted from doing the covenant. And so he says that Harald basically said, debased himself before humankind to try and connect his Elbaf with other nations. And he says that made him a heretic. And he says basically the giants are warriors, like by blood, and that basically if they're careless about incorporating them in the government, there will be some internal collapse. And he says ancient giant king of who agrees to the covenant basically even says that was a gift that will never happen again. And he says he was a king Elbaf shouldn't have had. And he says, and basically, yeah, this is what came of it. And he says their kinds are incompatible. And he says never forget that Elbaf is D. So that's an interesting thing. Elbaf is D. So Elbaf does have a significant connection to the ancient kingdom. Now that was expected. I mean, we know Nika, the sun god, is part of Elbaf mythology. So obviously, there is some form of connection, like where not Nika was like a giant or something, because it says Nika, not as far as not Joy Boy. But of course, we know Nika had the same powers as Joy Boy, like from years before. So we know there's some connection. So he says Elbaf is the so Elbaf has some connection with the ancient kingdom. Just like Wano did. Uh, you know, Shandora. Like, so there's some so Elbaf has some connection. So he said, so that's interesting. And so yeah, so now it goes back to Elbaf where everyone so inside the palace everyone's talking and basically talking about if like the news about what happened with Harald was told to the rest of the kingdom, there will be a bunch of unrest. Loki says he's gonna go to sea with the surviving guards, and Drool asked about what Harald wanted, and Loki says he can't tell them because of what happened. He won't because of what happened. Like they can't tell him because of what. And Loki asked for none of them to tell anyone what happened. And Drool says if it has to be understands that Loki will be blamed for it. Loki's like is like it was like he's already basically says he's already hated by everyone. So what's the difference? And he asks if there really is a future where he's king and can carry and basically can fulfill what Harald wanted. And he says there's other ways. And he says he'll take what all the power he has, and he'll go avenge like Harald. And Drool says that that's a bad idea. That he can't do it. That the government is massive, and that he won't be able to do that. And so yeah, and we get back to the present where he's saying that basically he's left the island. Basically says basically says he's sure by the time her Hadra return home that the rumor about Loki killing Herald had already been spread. And he says that he's not far. He tells him that he's not whatever rumor. So he's not far gone enough that he'd celebrate killing his own father. He said he just didn't want everything Herald wanted to be undone because of what had happened. And he asked if he should have just told the country everything. The bond confirms that everything that was said is true. And then, yeah, and Hodgson says he understands why Drool argued for clemency for Loki and continue to protect him. And so Hodgson's basically what happens is that Harald chose death over being manipulated by the government. And then basically it's like ever since then the government's been Elbaf's enemy. And so basically the Holy Knights and Gabon says that that the Holy Knights have the God Knights have played they were involved in what happened with Harald. And Loki doesn't know what happened to Harald. So seems like what all that Loki was explaining was what happened in the palace. While obviously us, the readers, we saw like everything, like from basically Harald's entire life, and of course Zemek. Like we saw everything. Like that's all we saw. Whereas Loki was only explaining the what happened in the palace. And then yeah, so and basically and Gabon says if anyone needs details he can explain. Hodger says he ain't gonna be he says it's not necessary. He said he doesn't need a reason to protect Elbath. And so Hodger then unlocks Loki's cuffs and he says that basically if he and Loki see the, like are able to agree on anything, is that they both like care for their, like they both love their father, and he asks for Loki to fight with him for Elbaf. So then you see like some giant skeleton thing. I don't know, it's like a Draugr or something. And then Loki calls it a warm up, and he tells them to go, everyone go ahead that he can fly up, and then basically so you see Hodgkin's crew like apologizes for what they all thought about Loki, and then basically Hodgkin says, "Hey, this is all just for that. All your other crimes, they still count." And then Loki's glad to be able to move again. And so yeah, so Sanji carries a Gabon and Chopper up, and yeah, so and Luffy jumps on Loki's shoulder. Loki asks what he's doing. Luffy says he just wants to see he wants to see how Loki fights, and he pulls out the Ragnar hammer and he uses an attack called Nibelheim, and like he hits the Draugr or whatever. So you see how powerful Loki is. So that's how chapter is. So yeah, I thought it was a great chapter. So saying that Elbaf is like looks like it's associated with the Will of D, so obviously Emu knows a lot. Like he knows everything about the Void Century, like what it okay, maybe not everything. I don't know if he knows exactly where the One Piece is, but Emu's like, yeah, Emu was like, this ain't something we could now be able to happen again, and he's probably right. I mean, getting the giant in the God Knights, especially with ancient giant blood, yeah, that was an opportunity he was willing to take, and he saw what happened. So obviously something happened. We know that stuff happened with Herald. Like we also happened, so that flashback's over. With arguably the best flashback in all of One Piece so far. The Void Century flashback and Nika era flashback hasn't happened yet. Flashbacks haven't happened yet. Not yet. No, those would be some great flashbacks. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, I am looking forward to like the rest of it. So the big fight's coming up. I don't know what's happening, like what else going on. So yeah, I thought this was a great chapter. Like Loki looks like so as far as what happens to Loki after this, like once the battle in Elbaf is done, it looks like these are my guesses. Either he joins the Straw Hats, that's a possibility. I don't think so. I think he becomes king. I don't think Loki actually joins the Straw Hats. I think he becomes king. And now, as far as what could happen, so Loki claimed Wano as his territory, as well as Fishman Island. Like Fishman Island, and I mean, I don't know if the flag has been flown in Fishman Island yet, but with Big Mom defeated and Loki saying he's going to make Fishman Island his territory, I think so. Fishman Island and Wano are part of Loki's territory. He, now, it's safe to say I think he's going to try and make Elbaf his territory. That's a possibility, and that's where Shanks could come in to this. Like I could see Shanks coming in this arc. Like that, I think is gonna. I think Shanks is gonna come in, and like that is where things will, you know, they'll sell their stuff. Like so, okay, so here's what I think will happen. Like when it comes to Shanks, like whenever the battle ends, like between like so I think the red hair pirates and the straw hat pirates they're gonna team. Well, of course, the giant pirates. So here's how I think things are gonna go. I think Hydrogen and Usopp will. I think the red hair pirates are gonna get there. Here's what we're gonna see. Obviously, Usopp is gonna be fighting. I think Dorian Bragi will at least right away. I think Yasop's gonna arrive and help him awaken observation hockey because that's been hinted at something that's gonna happen with Usopp for a while. So we're gonna see Usopp finally basically fully awaken it. And I think Hydrogen's gonna arrive and we'll see him I think actually beat Dorian Bragi to like cement his place as captain of the giant pirates. Because that makes sense having him beat them. And of course, with hockey being used to help defeat them. And then it comes to Emu slash Gunko. Obviously, I think Brooke's going to be involved with that because of what hinted at Gunko's past was like from whichever kingdom that Brooke was from. Luffy's going to be involved because obviously you have a Luffy, like, it would be Luffy and Emu's first confrontation. That's going to be a big deal. I think Loki's going to get involved with that one. Like, so, yeah. I, and now, of course, now, people are wondering who. Now, I don't think people are wondering Loki's going to join. I think it's going to be kind of like what happened with Alabasta. People remember Alabasta, so people were thinking Vivi's going to join the crew. Vivi's joining. She doesn't. She stays in Alabasta, and Nico Robin is the one who ends up joining the crew. And of course, people thought Yamato was going to, or Carrot was going to join. They wanted to help lead like their home nations. The one who I think is actually going to join the Straw Hats, and it's a bold pick, is Gunko. I think Gunko joins the Straw Hats after because like it's not going to be Bonnie. Like no, Bonnie I think is still now. I think Bonnie joins the Straw Hat fleet. I think she joins the fleet. Like her crew joins the fleet. I don't think she's part of the main crew. Like same thing I think could apply to the Sun Pirates, like Jinbei's old crew. I think they'll like basically by the time because Mary Jo is I don't know if that's gonna be the next arc. Like Mary Jo is an upcoming arc. I don't know if it's the next arc or there's gonna be like I don't know a Void Century arc or Nika arc in between that. I don't know, but here's how I think this is gonna go. When the dust set, like the big fight's about to kick off, final stage. I think the red hair pirates are gonna come in. They're gonna help. You know, like they're gonna help. I like, and then basically people are gonna learn about Emu. Like that's like basically Pirates. They're all gonna know about Emu now. And here's how I think it's gonna. And Gunko, I think will be freed. Like, and I think Shanks will come in to help Luffy. I think Brook is gonna like fight Gunko and get beaten. Luffy's gonna come in. Luffy, Loki are gonna come in, and then I think Shanks is gonna come in to help. Like, like Shanks will come in to help them to deal with Gunko slash Emu, and Shanks will explain how to remove the Covenant because he probably had the Covenant removed from him, and then basically like three of them and I don't know maybe Brooke as well will be able to free Gunko from Emu. Then the other God Knights will be defeated, and Gunko, I think, will remember her past and defect to the Straw Hats. And I think she'll actually join the crew. So it's a fake out where you think Loki's gonna join, but it's actually gonna be Gunko. That is what I think will happen. Now and then I think we're gonna have dispute of whether or not the red hair pirates or the straw hat pirates will have Elbaf as, because I think currently it is Shank's territory. I think it's currently Shank's territory. I think we're gonna get into whether or not which could explain why how he and Loki got into a conflict, because Loki probably didn't want Elbaf to be in anyone's territory. Anyway, so here's how I think it's gonna go. Luffy and Shanks will be like, basically they'll say, hey, let's not have a full out war between our crews. I don't know if they'll just do like a Davy back game, or if like a quicker one, not like what we got in Long Green Long Island. We all know how that went. Like, maybe just a simple, hey, simple fight, and Shanks will say, hey, this Straw Hat was Rogers. Whoever wins between us will get control over both crews, both the Red Hair fleet and the Straw Hat fleet, and will also own the Straw Hat as captain of the a combined fleet between Red Hair and Straw Hat. And I think Luffy will beat Shanks, and basically they'll make peace, and Shanks will basically become a captain that serves under Luffy. So we'll be back to three emperors, because one emperor will then be under, like Shanks will be then under Luffy as the subordinate captain. That's how I think it's gonna go. Like the rest of this arc, now that the flashback's done. Like I believe that Shanks was gonna get involved, and I think he's coming. Shanks coming in very soon. And we'll see. And however, other stuff like how they'll sell it. I think it could be a Davy back game so that they just don't have they don't want to fall war because they're friends, but they also have to deal with like Bartolomeo had attacked Shanks' territory, and you have all stuff with Kid. Whatever happened to Kid, whether or not he's alive or not. Anyway, so I thought it was a very good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. The Elusive Samurai, chapter 234. So in this chapter, Tokiyuki, Fubuki, and Kojiro, they're taken towards the execution grounds, and basically, obviously they thought they were going to be executed like that day, but Takagi says that he wants everyone to witness Tokiyuki's death, so like the execution will be like basically it'll be like it's like 12 days later. So basically, so everyone will basically witness it. Until then, he's gonna be they're gonna be kept in cells. So you see like Takaji's like crying. Toki tells him don't cry for his sake, but Takaji's like he's sad about killing Toki, but he's also happy that he finally won. And then yeah, and basically, so he tells it he's gonna execute them and display their heads in Kamakura. Toki says that displaying their heads wasn't part of the agreement. Takaji says he was afraid to tell them that because he was concerned they were gonna hesitate. But says that he'll respect them, his honor, and how like they'll die. And he asks if Toki will choose seppuku or beheading. And then yeah, he says he'll look forward to chatting with his head all night. And then basically, so yeah, so you see like Toki remembering like he seeing the pine tree where they played tag like before all the war was going on. So he reminisces about that time, and he asks Takaji about it, and basically they discuss it. And Toki asked for to die under that tree, and he says that due to his personal code, he won't take his own life. And Takaji says basically he'll agree. He says he'll be beheaded under the pine boughs. And so yeah, so basically then so Tokiyuki, Kojiro, Fubuki, they get some they get some sake, some good food, to eat. Basically they just relax while they're waiting execution. Then Gemba and Natsu arrive. And so basically they had drugged Gemba had drugged their food, so they're all asleep. And then basically Gemba says Tokiyuki should just break out and cast aside his duty to the Hojo clan. Tokiyuki refuses. I mean, and Gemba assumed he would say he would that's what he would say, but he wanted he basically wanted to ask anyway. And then yeah, and he says he don't want to mess things up for all the people by running away. And he tells Gimba and Natsu to tell their allies to basically hold their pride and just try to live well in the new land. Gimba tells Toki he won't seek revenge, and Toki says he can expect him to. And he's sorry. He apologizes for not giving them the land he promised. And he asked Gimba to help his family, like and tells and tells Natsu good luck with Gimba. And so basically, Togi had written farewell messages to his wives, and then yeah, and so basically Kojiro asked for them to tell Shina that she's a wonderful mother, and Fubuki tells them to ask them for them to tell Saruga Shiro that he's sorry for using his name, and that for him to ask for him to find joy with his family under a different name. Tokugi apologizes for Kojiro Fubuki for having to die with him, and they said they're fine with it. Like they've been ready to die, do their jobs as retainers, so they're okay with it. And he says, regard whatever that they're friends, basically it matters more than retainers. And then yeah, and but Toki says before he dies, there's one last thing he wants to do, and he says he asked Gimma to warn his wives about the danger, but he wants them to witness the execution. And then so basically he has some plan, and basically says he wants to make his death beautiful and enjoyable like his father and brother. And so you have Tokiyuki's saying he doesn't want to die. He's like, and basically they're just being unruly. And then they're and then yeah, so Takeji's annoyed, and he says for him to begin the execution. So and Tokiyuki's smiling, so he's got something planned. I don't know what. I don't know what. Obviously, so per history, this is the day he dies. He does he is beheaded. That is how he dies in history. So something's going on. Now, obviously, due to his health issues and do whatever, he is going to die. Now, unless they do something to where they appear to be beheaded, but he just escapes and just lives life in exile and peace, free of it all, okay. But obviously, but he's gonna die no matter what. I mean, Takagi dies in a few years, dies a few years later in history. So yeah, so something's going down. I don't know what. This is gonna be out. Looks like they're throwing a curveball in here somewhere. It's okay, what's going on? Anyway, I thought it was a good chapter. Like how basically everyone's starting to say their final goodbyes. Obviously the series is ending. It's gonna end in a few chapters. It ain't there ain't gonna be much left. Like there's like it's gonna end definitely this year. Like unless there's a weird curveball they show to where, oh yeah, he really did not die then. They're ending it very soon. Like it is like this series is ending. But yeah, I enjoyed this series. I like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Kagurabachi Chapter 108. So in this one, Chihiro is still fighting Akamura Soga, and so Soga says that basically since Chihiro is his sister's son, he doesn't want to kill him. Chihiro says like he's gonna fight him that because it's his only option. So yeah, and there is just that Chihiro's not fully healed, and then yeah, so basically, so it's just so the Magatsumi, which is the Soga's sword. Obviously, it's a different class than the other enchant blades. And then yeah, so basically, so Samura is using his powers to like try to heal Chihiro, and then yeah, so basically, so the N10, Chihiro's sword can dispel, Magatsumi's power, and then basically, and because that's what it was forged to do is to deal with that sword. So then they start fighting, and then yeah, I mean, Soga is like just he's he's very good as a swordsman. So if you see them doing all their sorcery attacks, where and then like so you see so he like then you know cuts the Soga cuts in the N10 like part most of the blade off. So he had like basically so that N10 is broken. And then he stabs Chihiro. So yeah, so that's gonna be interesting. So how he's going to handle it with the N10 being broken, like how usable is it? How like how is he gonna recover? Because Sommer's obviously trying to heal him, so we'll see how he recovers. So yeah, I really like this chapter. The combat in this was awesome. All the sorcery, it was freaking cool. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi, chapter 76. So in this one, this focuses on the fight between Shuden and Gaga. And so, they're fine. Gaga's trying to get used to Shuden's like attacks, like trying to copy it. Now, Gaga asks Shuden why a Maki like him would take orders from anyone, and because like Maki, I guess generally they don't side with it, they don't take orders. And he asks why Shuden would side with the humans. Shuden says he's not siding with the humans per se. He's basically his boss is Goro Shishido. And so basically joining up with someone with a strong person is like an ideal that demons have. And so Shuden says that it's not just his strength. And so yeah, so then they continue to fight. So Gaga's trying to do the Rocky Sudo, which is Shuden's move. Shuden says he'll just keep attacking with it until he gets it down. Basically, Shuden's like getting very twisted. I mean, he is part demon, so he's just shooting with the Rocky Shudo attack, and so he's going all out because he wants to defeat him before, like basically before he becomes a really bad problem. And then he does like an Akamaru attack. and he burns them to cinders, and he thinks he won, but then Gago he gets up he heals, and yeah, so basically it's whenever his ability, how he works is it's kind of like the Saiyans in Dragon Ball. Well, where so in Dragon Ball, the Saiyans, every time they get close to death and they recover, their power levels go up. That's basically how Gaga works. So every time he comes back from death's door, his power level increases a lot. And so he thanks Shuden for doing that, for giving and he's able to use the Rocky Pseudo. And then so Shuden's smile looks like Shuden's getting interested in the fight, so it looks like this fight's gonna get big. See, I like this chapter. You had Shuden and Gaga, their fight was cool. Gaga's a cool villain. Yeah, I like the visuals of the fight, the attacks, how they're build this fight. This is gonna be a good fight. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Ichi the Witch, chapter 66. So in this one, Gokuraku and Jikishiron are protecting Mini from Kizashi, and so they're trying to fight Kizashi off, and basically trying to basically they gotta be careful because if they're not careful, Kizashi will just easily kill them. And Gokuraku says to do it, he needs 5 seconds, you know, to basically prepare for an attack. So Jikishiron said basically yeah, and basically says get 5 seconds. She'll figure out what features they have, and she'll use the prophecies to figure out exactly where he to attack. And so they're trying to look, and yeah, and so Jigsaw trying to use her prophecy, the prophecies were to help Gokuraku get attack in. And Jigoro Jones, who's I guess getting exhausted from it, says that she's siding with Ichi, Ichi, not the world hater. And so yeah, because Ichi's knocked out, and then basically then Kizoshi summons an attack to use, but Gokuraku is going through his 5 seconds preparing to for the attack. And then Kizoshi's about to attack, but then the spell pauses, so it pauses. So basically, Chrono Weaver had stopped the attack with his time powers from a long distance, and basically he doesn't really trust like anyone except Mini. But since Chikishiron, Ichi, Gokuraku are they Descaras are risking their lives to save Mini, he basically he says he could trust it with the moment of his time. So once Gokuraku gets 5 seconds, he does the attack and attacks a bunch of Kizashi versions. He defeats a bunch of them. A few of them. So obviously the fight's still ongoing, but there's still more to go for this arc because I can't remember how many lives are left. But yeah, I thought this was a good chapter. Liked how you had Jigishiro and Gokuraku teaming up to try to fight. Kizashi and then Crow Weaver comes in. Trusting the Ichi's group a little bit. But yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Elder the Flame, chapter 34, and full series. So in this one, so Oder and Femble are given the other spirits to confront the evil king, and basically what happens is they just do one attack and defeat the evil king very quickly. So the evil king just offed very quickly, like very quickly, and then the spirits like return to nature. And Oda says bye to Philia. Philia says she'll come back when she's needed. Oda asks what if she loses her memory. Philia says that Oda could just tell her about like their saga, and then yeah, so then you have there's 3 years later, so you see, so the war's over. Like so the war is now over, and then yeah, so Kuning's like a minister for the like so you have like others now like Putin's now a minister, so you have Edu who's like now the queen, and so it looks like Fimble has come and to basically like I guess and looks like there's peace. Some people want Fimble to be killed. You know, Uperco says basically tens of thousands of lives were lost in the war, but due to the fact that they didn't help deal with the evil king, they do bear some responsibility for the war. And so Kuning, who's like a minister to the Horder fleet, you know, basically says hi to Edu Perko, and Kuning says that hey, like basically tells Uber just call him by his name. Uber says that they're in the castle. They have since it's official place of business. They have to be formal. So then this goes over to like Oder's house. So he's there with Sana. So Alajoki and Sindra arrive. Bring some Viking metal knives, and then so they all prepare dinner, and then they make the fire, and that's really it. As far as this chapter, okay. The problem is it did all this in one chapter. This should have been a multi-chapter, really long art, like multi-chapter fight. Evil King being off in one chapter like that. No, this isn't like a gag series where the part where it's like a humor is that like, or the joke is that like a character gets beaten like one hit. This ain't like One Punch Man where that's basically One Punch Man. That's the joke where Saitama beats people in one punch. That's the joke. This isn't it. This is like meant to be like a big fight. So the Evil King saying, I was like, what? You just got off this guy in one attack? Like this should have been like this should have been a fight. Like this should have been a fight. I mean, I could tell. I mean, when Fimble was introduced, when he was, I had inkling. It looked like okay, the series is about to end soon. But then you had the chapters like the Evil King's awoken. I was like, okay, yeah, this series is ending soon. Then they announced it was ending like this week, like today. I was like, okay, yeah, it's done. Yeah, and it was a very rushed ending. Like I think, given more time, it could have been done very well. Overall, it's a good series. I think the ending was very rushed, but overall, so like this chapter's not really great because of how rushed it was. But the overall series, I thought was good. I thought it was a good series. Sucks it didn't get the amount of time it needed to, I guess, flourish. But I think it could have been a good series. It just didn't get enough time. But Suisha does cancel series very early a lot for whatever reason. I don't know if there's like if I don't know what the sales are to explain like what it is. I don't know. But overall, I thought the series was good. Hopefully the author is able to make another series to like because I've seen some about there's like some three strike policy thing regarding series. Like if a series If someone has three failed series, basically Suisha won't work with them anymore. I don't know if that's true or just a rumor. I don't know. Hopefully, this guy's able to get a good series because I think he does have some talent. Harukaze Mound, Chapter 29. So in this one, so this is Moko's final at bat. So, Nagiharu and Ibuki discuss what to do, like on the mound. Obviously, what catchers and pitchers do. Now they should do a better job at covering their mouths while speaking. hmm a little nitpick it from like a baseball standpoint. So like, during the pitch, foul ball, so it's 0-1, so then gets another foul ball, so it's two strikes. And so Moko's like he's really into getting out of me. Moko's freaking crazy. And then yeah, so basically like, obviously their team's confident that Moko will hit the ball. Like so yeah, so and then basically Nago says he needs one more strike. And then like so Naga remembers like basically he imagines like he's like talking to Kaze, and then like he's basically talking about how Moko's a monster who can hit a bunch of pitches. And it says he wishes he could fire off one of like use a fastball. And then so there's a flashback, I guess, when they were younger, like a pitch that like 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 a pitch when they were younger that it was a weak pitch. And I guess it was something to do with I mean, even though he probably threw hard. It was something to do with the grip. And Nara says that that weak grip, the grip and weak could pay off sometime. And then he's one, and then like Nara remembers the pitch. So and then basically Ibuki's giving signs for what pitches. Nagahara is saying no. So they're wondering what's going on. And then then Ibuki does a sign for where the pitch, and he's like, are you serious? He's like, I was like, yeah. So he does it. It's an off-speed pitch. So like it arrives very slow, and like Moko swings like very quick. He's like, but he can't. He's like, huh? What? Well, he's like, why is it? He's like, crap. He's like, crap. I'm already swinging through, but I can't. But it ain't here. Crap. And it's a strikeout. And then he calls it the Harukaze ball. And then after I guess like basic Naruto, I guess named after himself and his brother. And then so Moko is out, so he got out in the final at bat. So that's a big deal. So yeah, so as he struck out the batter, so I like this from a baseball standpoint. I really like this chapter. Like went into like the at bat, like basically three straight strikes. I mean two of them were foul. First you had two foul balls, then the third like strike like swing and miss on like on off speed. So yeah, so yeah, change up. Yeah, that really threw off Moko's timing, especially with his basically he's kind of stupid. So yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Liked how like the whole baseball stuff with it, the pitching. Like I thought it was a really good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Spy Family, chapter 127.3. So this chapter is mostly a flashback from 30 years ago. You have, Donna Slag, when she's younger. She sees a newspaper about Martha volunteering for a regiment, which we've seen the story about that in previous chapters. You see some people talking about it. So Slag had admired Martha, even though she had barely talked to her. Even well, she used to like look down on her, but basically, but her fighting like Westalis, like that made her respect her a lot. And she says she tells her she doesn't want to she wants to become strong, so she doesn't interfere with Westalis. So the university apparently offered military training for women, but wasn't enough for her. And so you see a lot of it's a model, like her inner thoughts about it. And basically, she reads a bunch of books to find ultimate strength, and she learns about Budo and Shugyo and like some Eastern cultures. Doesn't give a specific nation. I mean, because a lot of these nations, these are fictional nations. And then she learned about ninja. Basically, they're like superhuman beings, breathe fire, make themselves invisible, survive underwater Earth, or split themselves into pieces. Basically, I don't know if she was just reading Naruto or something, or whatever the Spy Family equivalent to Naruto was. I mean, we all remember the dodgeball filler episode. Not well, the filler in that episode where was it the shadow clone jutsu scene. Oh man, oh that was a great episode. Spy Family when that happened. Anyway, but it looks like she was. I guess all her information about ninja comes from Naruto or something. And so Slag decided to become a ninja. So and basically she like started like trying different jutsus of doing different trainings and like trying to get stronger. And she even makes like an outfit for herself. And then so her friends ask her if she hurt her left hand, and she says no. This is where she houses her lightning dragon. She says her name is she calls herself at the time Goraimaru Narukami. And they said, Donna, you seem a little and she said, I'm not Donna, I'm Gore Maru. And they're like, all right, sorry. And basically it was a phase for her, a little embarrassing. And due to that, she got a middling amount of strength. So she, has some power. Like obviously we've seen how she is like using Tony trisses and stuff, like shurikens, like obviously play for laughs. So yeah, I thought it was a funny chapter. It was a good little chapter. We don't really care much about Slag's not a character whose backstory we generally would care about, but it was a funny one because, like, as far as backstories, obviously, Henderson would be and Desmond, like Donovan and Desmond, would be the two characters whose backstories we'd be most interested in. Because, dude, that Henderson flashback, holy frig! Like, Henderson deserves so much respect. Anyway, as far as this chapter goes, I thought this was a good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo Chapter 18. So in this one, it starts out with like Tsurugi and Maru's fight. So Rika, you know, Orimoto, who was like basically, Yuda's like Yuko Katsu's childhood girlfriend who had died, then was accidentally turned to like a cursed spirit. Her will, like the cursed spirit that's her will, like is inside of, Yuda's ring, which was passed down to like the grandchildren, with Tsurugi holding it. So with Tsurugi's cursed energy, like with like Rita's cursed energy, Tsurugi like is able to like do a lot of damage to Maru, and so it's like a big fight. Like and like yeah, then it switches to Dabura versus Maharaga, and basically like Dabura is starting to get serious because like Maharaga is like able to do a lot of damage, like a lot. But yeah, I thought this was a like dude like this like so you see a flashback to like to like, the conversation between Dabra and Dura, and then yeah, and so Dabra thinks that like he might basically he might lose, and he remembers some conversation he had with Dura about like who like how he's that like Dabra's ever had a true fight. And then basically that whenever like Endure told him that whenever he gets to a fight that he thinks he might lose, he'll understand what it means to be a real warrior. Like when he has to fight because he has to, not because he wants to or doesn't want to. And basically, like fighting because you have to is like a real fight. And then he tells Maru he'll fight for real. And then yeah, so basically he tells that if his curse techniques are can't don't work against Maharaga, then like Dara says he'll just use like his bare hands. And he tell and so basically like Dabros doesn't hold and he used like goes very fast because like and so it looks like things are getting serious. So yeah, so this is going to be a big thing. So yeah, I like this chapter. You see the two fights, Tsurugi versus Maru, Mahuraga versus um Dabura. Like that's a big deal. So yeah, I thought this was a good chapter. Like, basically like and I don't know how much this series has left. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're just gonna like end it after these fights, or if they're like gonna like continue on with them dealing with the aliens and humans dealing with other threats. But yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. The fights were freaking awesome. Like they're really picking up. But yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Gonron Egg Chapter 11. So in this chapter, the Human Liberation Army has defeated the Drukarks, and then Gonrong was hurting, and then yeah, so with the only like Drakark that seems to be alive is Oma, and like basically once all the Drakarks went, so basically Bactol tells like Gonrong to eat the last of his heart to use its power to protect Oma, and so yeah, and then Oma introduces himself and he says he's an ally to humankind. And so Gonrong using the power of Bactol's heart, like and Oma, or like defeats some of the other Drakarks. So that's how. So at the end, about all the human survivors were evacuated, and then basically, so the members of the says that the 82nd article of the Human Liberation Army's codes that Drakarks who are beneficial to humanity are to be protected, and so and then basically says that Gonrong's actions were impressive, and says that he doesn't trust him, but that he'll let his superiors decide whether or not Gonrong and Oma like are beneficial to the Human Liberation Army, and and that their superiors will decide what will happen with them. So yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. You see Bactol like gains like trying to like basically like make up for what he did. So yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Like back to like so he did the last thing he did in his life was to help his prince, and so Gonrong and Oma proved themselves a little bit, and like they at least delayed their execution. So we'll see what happens to them. Like how will the Liberation Army treat them? Should be interesting, especially since they use Drakarks. And so yeah, this should be interesting. So yeah, I thought this was a good chapter. Looking for the next one. Mage Next Door, Chapter 10. So so in this chapter, so like you see, like Osagawa is visited by Yobuko. She explains what happened to the other those mages, and basically they were sent back. They were allowed to they reunited with someone they owed some stuff to, and then with their basically their friend Mr. Atsuji, and then and yeah, so basically even though it'd been a while, but like basically they were able to like say bye, but Yobiko will sent them back to the magic world, even though she did feel sorry for them. And she said it was weird because they were mages, but they were originally humans. She never met anyone like that. And then Osagawa says that, he used to be human too. Yobiko's like, wait, what? And then, yeah, so Yobiko's concerned about what's going on with Osagawa. So, and then basically, so they Yobiko. So basically, then Osagawa and Sujimura, they walk by this one room. There's like some relics from a war between humans and mages, and like the relics were like weapons used back then. And then Osagawa asks if the treasure gem that Shindo had, if it was one of those relics. Yeah, so basically Osagawa says that they should, if there are any other of those crystal like things that could like that can like increase power level, like magic power, that they should find where something happens. So then you see, they come across a director of the Elite Magic Task Force, Kaide Chikimuma. So she want to talk with Osagawa, and basically that she agrees that they need to get the treasure gems, and wonders if like those are the reasons mages have been very active recently in the human world. Osagawa asks if this is supposed to be a good cop bad cop thing between Sujimura and Chikumo, and Sujimura says no, just sit down. And so Chikuma says that Sujimura says that Osagawa is not a bad guy and could be used as an ally. And then yeah, so Sujimura says that instead of just monitoring him, he thought it'd be a good idea if Osagawa could like cooperate with the task force, even though there'd be a risk that Osagawa could betray them. And basically, like Chikuma says, this is not a terrorist, but a way to share intel. And then basically says that mages have always entered the world, but they've really increased in number. And then like so she understands that like she learns that Osagawa had come from the magic world to take mages back, and he says yes. And then she shows a picture of like some writing tattooed on the mage they apprehend on mages they've apprehended. Oscar doesn't know what it means, but it looks like writing from Magic World. So he tries to decode it. He gets uncuffed and he uses magic to decode it. Says the word, like the exact wording, and then Mini Magus, who had snuck inside of Osagawa's like I guess sweater or whatever, basically says it could be the Doroi language. And then yeah, so basically Doroi is like an independent nation within the magic world, and it's very far from the divine Magus' shrine, so it's considered a wasteland that basically people avoid. And so basically it's believed that Doroi is sending mages into the human world. And then Mini Magus says she'll tell Divine Magus about that. And Chikuma says that if an entire nation's involved in this, that it could be a bigger deal than they all thought. And Chikuma tells Oscar that she wants him to keep capturing mages while getting some intel on the leader. And she also says if he tries anything weird, they'll arrest him. And Yobuga's like, what if is concerned about Osagawa getting the death penalty and admitting Magus is missing? And Osagawa walks out of the police station, and then he explains to Yobuka what happened with Doroi sending mages to the human world. And Yobuka's like, wait, we have to fight an entire nation? Yeah. Osagawa says, well, it might be a pain, but they gotta protect people. And Osagawa says they gotta do some training, and then and then basically, so you see like Osagawa doing like sit-ups or something using magic for a sore body. Yoga says that muscle, and Yoga's yelling that her muscles don't get stronger unless like he works them out. So that's how chapter. So yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Interesting that so you have this nation called Doroi who's involved in things. So okay, we got so there's a big bad. So it's not gonna be like a villain of the week type thing or villain of the arc. There is a big bad that whoever Doroi, where this Doroi nation is, they're involved. So that's gonna be interesting. Like how that develops. Like what is Doroi's plan? So yeah, I really like this chapter. I'm looking forward to the next one. Landman season 2, episode 10, and full season. So in this episode, so a lot of it deals with like the fallout of last week's episode for all different stuff. So you have like what happens with Tommy. So Tommy got fired. He's trying to figure out what to do. There's potentially meeting with like a bigger name company that basically he could just get whatever job he wants because that's how good he is at his job. Now the main, but he's wondering what to do. He tell like so obviously like I don't think anyone at Imtex is happy about what Cammy did. They are not. I don't think anyone's happy. Like and then you had so one of the things that happens is so one of the character so Nate, the lawyer, he's called to Fort Worth. He talks with Tommy about it. Tommy says that he thinks that Cammy's gonna offer Nate the position of president of MTEX basically as Tommy's replacement. Nate says probably not, probably just advice on who to get. And he says he thinks Cammy firing Tommy was a bad idea, that she will regret, and he'll try to like get her to reconsider. And yeah, so and Nate goes meets with Cammy in Fort Worth, explains that so Cammy found some hard copies of some financial data. She asked why Monty would have that. Nate says, well, if there's a criminal litigation, they could get rid of the evidence without leaving the digital trail. He says he didn't approve of Monty but doing that, but that was his decision. That was Monty's decision. And Cammy asked, should all that get scammed? Nate says that's Cammy's decision. And Cammy says, well, I need your input because my president should have input. So Nate and basically confirm. Nate says that he knew that Tommy said that Cammy probably would try to offer him that position. And Cam was like, well, did you drive down here to accept? Nate's like, no, I'm here to uh, quit. He tells, Nate explains that the way Monty handled the business, it was designed, the way it was run to be sold in the future, not like exist for a long time after, Monty. So basically, he's saying Cammy's going to run it to, he basically tells Cammy she's going to run it to the ground. She doesn't sell it. And he says, and he asks her to let him and Tommy help her sell the company so that she doesn't get ruined by it. Like for her sake, for her family's sake. Like basically, because he and Tommy, they they wanted what's best. Like, because Tommy was trying to think like a businessman. He was not wanting it. He didn't. He was not trying to be like sentimental and write reckless stuff like Cammy was, and Monty to I would say a lesser extent. Like like basically Monty, I get understood the business enough to I guess know when to back off. He was reckless, so well it takes a risk, but not for what we've seen. He had some common sense because he got experience in the industry. Whereas Cammy, her name was on stuff, but she didn't know a darn thing about the industry, and everyone freaking knew it. So yeah, so basically this is like this is leading up probably gonna lead to Cammy's downfall in the future. So now the predominant story in this episode is what happened with Cooper. So Cooper had beat up, you know, the guy that violated Ariana. Like we all know like we all know what happened. Like so basically and they give a name of the guy. So the name of the guy was named Johnny. He was some big like he was connected to people. And which makes sense for how this would be big. So turns out he had died in the hospital after I guess being taken there. And so Cooper, and Ariana, they go to the police station, give their statements about everything that happened. You know, Ariana has to get like a lot of like pictures of like her bruises and stuff. And, Cooper gets interrogated by the cops about what happened. So the guy was like the, the guy who had beat up like Johnny Ware was a basically he was connected like to some like with like some local government people. And so um and it's revealed that he had died in the hospital. So some of the local cops there are wanting to charge Cooper with murder. And they have security footage showed everything. Um so Ariana learned what had happened and like that he's gonna be that they're gonna try to charge Cooper. So she calls Rebecca. They had not spoken to each other at all since season one with the whole argument about the settlement stuff. So and obviously but Ariana when she explains what happened, Rebecca tells Ariana to put her on speaker, just walk into the interrogation room, put the phone on the table. And so Ariana does that. Rebecca says, "Hey, hey, this is Cooper's lawyer. Did you read the?" And she says, "Did you read him?" She asked Cooper if he was ever read his rights. He wasn't. Um, and basically and so she says, "Okay, so you didn't read his rights. So anything that was said before that now is admissible in court." And so the cops they're like, we're like, they're not happy about like and she says she's going to be there very quickly. So Rebecca drives there and she calls Tommy and explains everything. Tommy calls his friend in the police department, the local like sheriff, I can't remember his name, like the sheriff or whatever, and says, "Oh, what the heck are you doing?" And he's like, "Look, I just learned about this," and basically they're both driving down there. Tommy and the sheriff, they're going to drive down and figure it all out. And so Rebecca gets down there. They look at all the security footage. The cops only want to show the footage of Cooper beating up Johnny. Becca says, back it up, back it up," and to get the whole full foot context of of what Johnny was doing to Ariana, to get that full context, and she's like, all right, she's like, "I'm going to show that this is what we're gonna basically this is what we're going to show the jury." And basically, she puts it bluntly. She says it to Tommy, says it to the cops. Basically, like, do you honestly think that a guy that did what Johnny did, that people are gonna hold sympathy for him? And basically, like a jury would, and basically says how much. And she brought up incidents regarding each of the cops. She somehow found that information regarding like what they like some like the cops during their jobs. He says if you're gonna put Cooper away for who had not been trained in how to handle has had zero training in how to handle threats. We're gonna put him away for protecting his fiance. You're gonna burn too. You're gonna go down too, and basically we're gonna. She says she's gonna ruin. She's like, I'm gonna ruin your lives and bankrupt y'all all y'all. Like she doesn't hold back, and she says, you want to you want to play this game. You're and so and the reason is so some like the giant he was connected. Some politicians they don't want like I guess some of their buddies to like get basically get beaten. I mean, because look and like and it's like the fact. Look, it's Texas. Here's just the fact. It's Texas. A guy who did what Johnny did, what he did to Ariana, like Cooper ripped him off of her and beat him up. He died at the hospital, whatever. Okay, here's the thing. He was defending his fiance. That's what basically in Texas, that is what a jury, most of the people, almost everyone in the jury would go with. Like Cooper, like in Texas, Cooper was going to get off scot free. That's essentially what, like everyone knows that. Like there was not gonna be, they were not like they were not gonna be able to buy off a jury like that. No, there. I don't think there'd be enough people in that area, Texas, that could be bought off to put Cooper away. That was not going to happen. So and like Tommy basically, and then they ask like okay, and basically the cops are asked multiple times by like Tommy asked them, like the sheriff asked them. I think Rebecca asked them too. Basically, like, what if that was your wife or your daughter? What or your kid? What would you do? Like Tommy says, he like basically one of the cops says that that was his wife. He would have shot the guy and killed him. And I think yeah, Cooper. I think it's when Cooper asked him, and basically, and Tommy basically tells that whoever the captain whoever at the precinct is like if that was my kid or my wife, that guy wouldn't have made it in the ER. He basically Tommy says he would have killed him himself. I mean, it's right. Yeah, that's what a lot of men would do. Like if that was their kid or their wife being violated like that, yes, they would they would put in it like they would. And the way the cops explain why he would shoot is like, look, he would just pull the trigger, end it quick. And he says Cooper like beat him more times after he says he like beat him 17 times. Whatever. I'm like, that's not gonna matter to the jury because Ariana was knocked unconscious. Like, and he is so yeah. I mean, Cooper got scot free, and so now the another kind of like side story is Ariana. So it continues on from well, not well, Ansley, like from last episode. So you had the stuff with the roommate Pagan. So Pagan is like a trainer or something, manager whatever for the cheerleading team. So Ainsley starts cheerleading practice, starts training camp, whatever. They have to do some workouts, like they have to do some form of workouts. Like I'm guessing, like if they're doing, was it the pyramid? I guess like if you have to do the pyramid thing or the was it where you lift the cheer like when they lift other cheerleaders, throw them in the air, catch them? They do have to have some form of upper body strength and like in order to do all that. Makes sense. Like it makes sense. And so like Pagan like sees like basically like Ainsley's ankles like hurt or whatever. She's like, hey, we're gonna come and work out. Pagan says they're gonna come out like that. She like Pagan the other like I guess trainers where coach staff will come up with the like workout regimen to help her strengthen her ankles. So Pagan's just I guess not bringing up the dorm stuff, just Pagan's doing like her job or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, so then and so it's like the first like I guess friendly conversation they had because obviously Pagan in the dorm room was like, "Hey, you can't do this." Basically, Pagan was being a prick, like basically being very like first day meeting the roommate, being very demanding. Look, regardless of anyone's opinions about stuff, like still be respect. If you that's the first day you meet a room, be respectful, regardless of what someone's views are about stuff. I mean, Ainsley got pissed off, like, and obviously Pagan was dealing like issues, and so then later there's like some I guess some high school boys who are like mocking Pagan, whatever, and Ainsley basically tells him to go away. She says basically, hey, if y'all are like if y'all are some big boys, she said basically she tells them to like whip out like she tells them to like prove that they're men. They just go away. And so the coach like basically says, she stood up for like her teammate or well, like the manager or whatever. And basically they make so Ainsley and Pagan make peace. They make peace with her and they agree to try rooming with each other. And they said, look, whatever ground rules they set, like let's just set them together. Like don't and Ainsley asked if the ferret could be given a bath because I guess the ferret smelled. I don't know how in the world a ferret was allowed to be kept as a pet in the first place, because I didn't think dorm rooms allowed pets outside like fish. I didn't think dorm rooms were too keen on allowing pets, like at colleges in general, not necessarily TCU. I don't know, but like yeah, I thought this was as far as and then so Tommy gets along, so he decides to go off on his own to form his own oil company using Cooper's leases that he had signed. Like Cooper's leases, and then like he gets some money from Galeno. I guess he and Galeno have worked some things out, like their disagreements. Like they've worked their disagreements out. I mean, there are questions to why Tommy's willing to take some money from Galeno, but like it looks like they've worked some things out enough to where like he can. My guess because Cooper had already signed a deal with Cooper signed with Galeno. I guess that might be why Tommy's taking my. He's like basically just deal with that, and they'll. I guess whatever happens from that could determine how he and Galeno interact later. Like I guess in season three, because there is a season three coming, which I'm surprised about since Sheridan left. And so Tommy has all the family like so he has Boss Dale like their crews whatever meet up Nate Rebecca um Angela Ainsley Cooper his father Thomas you know and Ariana of course Ariana's kid basically everyone like Rebecca everyone arrives and he announces that basically he's forming a new oil company called CTT Oil Exploration and Cal. And everyone's like, wait, why and Cal? Like so. Tom explains that the Cal part is just because it was just some legal reason to make sure the name wasn't taken. So CTT is Cooper, Tommy, and Thomas. And basically says Cooper's the president, and Tommy says that he's going to be the he's going to be the vice president unless Cooper wants to fire him. played a little joke at Cammy's expense. And so everyone agrees to join. They're like, oh, they're all in because they all like Tommy. Like the ones who are in the business, they like Tommy because Tommy knows the business, that he's good at his job. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting how next season is handled because obviously you're gonna have looks like a little rivalry between CTT and MTEX. So we'll see how well since Cooper's leases have all hit, the ones that have been drilled, they can see like they can see how things could go into like how Cooper's leases go, like how they could hit all those, see what happens. If they hit all of them, then they can like get some money and like I don't know how long they'll keep the biz will stay, but looks like if Cammy's gonna still be a player next season. Now Galeno, I don't know if Galeno's gonna still be tied to Cammy. I think he is. So it looks like he's gonna be tied to both CTT and MTEX. He's gonna be in the middle, which he's probably fine with. I mean, he gets his foot in two businesses with Tommy's business and then with MTEX. So he's probably gonna get some money either way. Like, and there's gonna be a rivalry. And like my prediction for season 3, I predict that Tommy buys MTEX. I think Cammy will crush her recklessness will cause a bunch of problems for MTEX, and CTT will buy it. That's how I think it's gonna go. Yeah, overall, this episode, I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was good. Like the way it handled the Cooper stuff was, okay, so okay, the guys connected. That makes sense why this will it would become a lingering plot point. Especially if a Galena learns about it, that could actually come play in the future because he's a cartel guy. Cartels do like to buy off politicians, so it's gonna be so that it could be a linear plot point. But Johnny's death is officially ruled a heart attack. They're like, we're just gonna you know sweep this under a rug. Yeah, so that's good. That could be a plot point next week if Galena learns about the whole potential murder. Well, it's not murder; it was self-defense. Like technically, it was self-defense. Like in Texas and real reality, that's how it would be ruled in a jury in Texas. So yeah, so then as far as this episode, I thought it was a good episode. It handled like the whole. I was surprised Pagan came back. I was kind of expecting that to be a one-off thing. Then they brought Pagan back in. It was like, okay, I guess they work things out. I think Pagan and Ainsley work things out, and the two of them just go to a room together. I don't know. And Pagan, I guess, was a lot more of a happy person. I don't know if she like had just, I guess, reflected on being based on being told that she was basically just a Debbie Downer, and I guess I reflected on that, decided to be because I mean, look, like, 'cause I mean, because Pagan was a Debbie Downer, like, had some issues that had to be that has some issues that needs to be dealt with. Where it's like the you know whoever parents, therapy, with God or whoever, like basic issues that like some personal issues, that was being forced onto Ansley. Anyway, so looks like they work some things out. The two of them are gonna try to work together. I don't think that should be a major plot point in season 3. Like keep the college stuff. So like that was the weakest part of the season. Overall, that was a very good season, like a very good season. And I thought it was a very good episode. So good episode, good season. Really looking forward to season 3. Kunon the Sorcerer can see episode 4. So in this one, Kunon is taken by his father to the castle where Mirika's older sister Reisha, who's a royal sorcerer herself, basically basically shows him the castle, and she explains that there are 7 princes and 10 princesses. and like it would like amongst like the royal family, and most kingdoms basically the heir is generally the oldest prince, specifically the oldest legitimate prince. And Game of Thrones fans know what I'm talking about with that. Like, look up. Well, granted, illegitimate children generally aren't technically part royal. That's a whole other thing. But in but generally the oldest male heir is the official heir to the throne. But in the Hugula kingdom, an heir that's not binding. The heir can change based on personal achievements or public opinion, which kind of explains why why Lyle was jealous of Mirka and Kunon earlier, because Mirka being the fiance of a sorcerer having the hero scar could raise her status like in regards to secession. And Raisha tells Kunon to not get himself involved in disputes over secession. Don't side any factions because that could cause problems for Mirka, for Kunon, and for basically everyone. So Kunon shows Raisha a spell where he freezes a thin layer of water under his shoes, allowing him to skate indoors. So he and Raisha have fun skating. Uh, Basically, Captain Darion, who's a knight, gets them to stop and scolds them. And so, you know, Raisha introduces Kunon to a sorcerer, Grandmaster Landman, who senses Kunon's magic and introduces that Kunon is a 2-star water crest. So most sorcerers are 2 stars. Obviously 5 seems to be the most powerful. So Landman is a 4-star, and so Raisha's a 2-star wind crest. And basically, so a lot of stuff like nobility, like world sorcerers are there's a lot of meritocracy there, and so Kunon's introduced to the other world sorcerers, and he's told to ask show off his magic. So one of the sorcerers summons some water, uses Ori to summon some water, and Kunon's asked to move them. He's able to move 2 of them, which surprises so they're like, okay, he knows if he can move 2, because the guy's who made the water, he's like, I didn't think he could move any, but the thing is, it was a test not even Kunon or Genie could think of, because Kunon had never been told to move water that was produced by someone else's magic. Only his own water, or I guess water that was natural. So that was an interesting test. And basically he's asked Skrulls shows off his magic, and someone so he makes I guess like a little trampoline type thing out of wire, and so it's funny Laundamon just jumping on it, and so everyone's like, wow, you can make a bed out of this, referencing water beds, and so he shows also he showed he made so he mentions that he can make a copy of a human. Since he had made a copy of a cat, which his father's a big fan of cats, one of the reasons they don't have a cat is that Kunon's mother prefers dogs. Understandable, because dogs are better than cats. And so he's asked if he can make it. So he makes a water copy of Eco, and so he mentioned he can make he would fly, but when that happened, Eco was disturbed. So they're like, buy it, and so he hadn't done it again. And they're all like, no, do it. We want to see it happen. So he makes the replica float in the air. But what's funny is different servers see it when they see it going down. Some things they all think it's a ghost going up and down. So all the maids are scared, and so all the sorcerers are scolded for that. And so Longmont agrees to assign Kunon Royal Sorcerer as a tutor. Now, Kunon's father scolds Kunon and Raisha for Kunon getting scolded by Darien twice in one afternoon. and he's like, "Hey, you got." He basically tells Kunon to be responsible. That hey, if you're told to kill someone with magic, do whatever, like do bad, so like that you have to. He tells him to be responsible. Basically, it's like the whole great power comes with great responsibility talk. That's essentially what it is. So Kunon apologizes for the mischief he caused, and then so now Kunon, due to how late he has to get to his dinner with Mirika, which was already scheduled, and he's concerned. He's like, you can't get. He's like, he can't get there all dirty, like sweaty and stuff. So Raisha like recommends combining like their like magic. So Kunon makes like this water thing for him and Raisha to ride, and Raisha uses her wind to take him there. Now Kunon's first head, he's like, hey, he wanted first time he wanted to go on like a water like take a water thing for him to float on with alone with someone. He wanted to be America, and especially he assumed he's like he tells Raisha that probably her fiance would like her seance like with the man, and Rachel like, says she doesn't have a fiance, and so and Raquel's like okay, so he's not concerned then. So Kuno and Rachel they fly towards there. They have a crash landing, and they get scolded by Darien again. So three times in one day, which was fun. So yeah, I thought this was so. Some of Mirika's servants are wondering what since Mirika like is head over heels for like falling for Kunon. They're wondering what kind of gentleman he is. So it's like they're all going to meet Kunon soon. So that's gonna be interesting. So yeah, I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was funny him interacting with all the sorcerers, just also with Darien just scolding them. Like it was just funny. The cat. Like I thought it was a great episode. Looking forward to the next one. Hayatron isn't scary. Episode 2. So in this episode, there's a you know another kindergartner who claims to like see ghosts. So basically, you have Saku who sees a strange face in the window, thinks it's a ghost. So basically, so she's able to befriend Kaya. So they walk home and like sees like the gets the creepy face in the window, whatever. And then now there's an actual ghost in front of Saku that Saku doesn't see. Kaya punches it, and then like and then like yeah, so like yeah, so then what happens there is so then Chia Chi Sensei she like gets him back to school or and so yeah, so then what's funny is so then later there's like I don't know a field trip or something where so Yuzu one of the students goes off basically thinks she's talking with like her mother but it's like an imposter like thing so Kyle like tells her to like hey go away like basically the mother like there and then she arrived like there were rumors about some creepy man go after children, and so she sees some suspicious like dude like near Kaya and Yuzu, and so she sees and she like body slams the guy to the ground, and then carries the two kindergartners away, and then yeah, so then basically yeah, so what happens then is so later um after that, Kaya like she sees like it's her father to pick her up. Everyone's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Uh, and then she like Kaya jumps or hops the fence and walks with. She thinks her father, but Arrow's like she's walking by herself, and they tell Cheese like what happened. So Kaya's father arrives, wondering where she's at, and she leaves to go find Kaya, and then the illusion. So it changes to Kaya's mother. So Kaya's concerned that it turns back to the old man, where the guy says that Kaya saved him, I guess years ago, whatever. He wants to repair. She pulls like the little, so she had given Kaya like an alarm, like a stranger danger alarm or something to pull it. So Kaya pulls it, the and she's like stranger, and then she hears it, gets towards the guy, recognizes the guy, and goes down. And then Kyle blocks her, saying that the guy's not right away, so he may not be bad. So basically, the guy, I guess, was saved by Kaya years before, so I wanted to thank repair. And he gives she like a business card or something. So the guy did come off as creepy. I mean, so he wasn't, I guess, trying to go after kids or something. He was just trying to thank Kyle there. Now he was a freaking idiot how he went about it, and he came across like a creep. Like I don't blame Chi at all for by slamming him and wanting to beat him up for potentially going after kids. I don't blame him at all. I don't blame Chi at all for that. Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. The imposter ghost that like I guess so there was a ghost that like goes after kids. So there was like a ghost. So Kai had dealt with the ghost, and then yeah. So yeah, I thought it was a good episode, interesting. So it looks like there's some others that can see ghosts that Kyle hopefully can befriend. So obviously, she has issues making friends. Yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good episode. Looking forward to the next one. Oedo Fire Slayer, The Legend of Phoenix, Episode 2. So, in this one, so Gengo's trying to, I guess, build up the Boro Tobugumi, and then, try and deal with, like, the Foxfires. So, he's trying to recruit, like a sumo, like, wrestler to the group. And then, yeah, so then what happens here is basically they're trying to go around trying to do that, trying to get some people. Like, so it is definitely interesting. Like, it's definitely how they're trying to, like, get some people, build some people up. Like, so yeah, I thought it was a interesting episode how it's going down. So, recruiting some people. Okay, looks like it's gonna be a lot of this. It's gonna be recruiting, like, some people to like build up this firefighting group. Like, whatever. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I want to see more. Like, like it's. I mean, it feels like there's not a lot at times. Like, it's like okay, I want to see more. So I feel like this is like an interesting, very interesting premise. I would want better execution. Overall, I'd say it's okay. Like it's fine. Like this is like an okay episode. But like I mean, I'm still interested. I'm interested in wanting to see more out of this. So yeah, I'll watch. Yeah, okay episode. Looking forward to the next one. Hell's Paradise season 2 episode 2. So in this episode, so this continues on from last one. So continues the fight between Gabimaru and Asa Chobe. And so Chobe, like basically, he struggles with controlling his body because it's like transforming a lot due to the Tao. And Gabimaru's losing some control over Tao. Like he's basically close to death. So Gabimaru wins, and so Toma, who's Chobe's brother, like gets a basically he gets caught in the crossfire or whatever. So he gets hit by one of Chobe's attacks. So Chobe's like knocked out, whatever. Toma's captured. So then what happens is so everyone reunite. Like so basically all the different groups are so basically all the groups that are left, like those who are left, they reunite. go over everything. And so then like there's a whole thing where and then like where the pink hair girl, yeah, May, she like tries to heal Gabimaru, but she can't. She only does so much. She then like gets, and that causes her to age up, age up physically. And so yeah, so basically everyone like meets up, like trying to figure out what's going on. So like all the so here's who all that's left. That's like basically there you have Yamada, Asaman Shion, Yamada Asaman Sagiri, Gabimaru, Tamiya, Genget Susei, Yamada Asaman Fuchi. Um, let's see, you have then Usuria, and that's really and basically so they all go over everything. So Usuria and Saga are trying to tell Gabimaru that his wife Yui is an illusion. Well, his wife. We don't know, but the name is not said till Gabimaru says. So Gabimaru says no, it's true. And he mentions stuff he remembers about her because he has some memory issues. And he says her name Yui, and he says everything he knows about her, telling that she's real. And yeah, so basically she like basically everyone's like okay, but yeah, so in this, so everyone like is talk like so they're all trying to go over how they're gonna get the elixir. Like they're all trying to figure out what's going. So there's concern about how they're gonna handle. So everyone right now is teaming up. So it looks like everyone that's there, they're all teaming up. So now, and which is setting the stage for like the rest of this series. Like, because obviously they got to deal with all the tension. Like, so when they're in that, that ends the episode. So like, yeah, so I thought it was a really good episode. The fight between Chobe and Gabimaru was awesome. So there's a whole bit. So how Gabimaru gets healed? So he's close to death. So I realize she basically gets on top of Gabimaru, holds him down, and has like their towel like circulate each other. Like basically their towel it basically like they're like compatible in a way to their towels are compatible to where now everyone compares it to like jutsu. So basically, people thought it was, and like May's like that's not what it is. It's similar. Basically, it looked like that Sagari was trying to like screw Gabimaru in order to heal him. That's not what was going on. It just looked like that. And of course, like there's gonna be jokes made about it. Like there's gonna be jokes made. But yeah, I thought this was a great episode. Like that was awesome. The plot development, obviously, like there are questions whether or not Yui's real, you know. And then you have Chobe is going to try to like master Tao, so probably next time he sees Gabimaru, he should be like a lot more powerful. We'll see how things go. But yeah, I thought this was a really good episode. Looking forward to the next one. The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Season 1, Episode 1. So in this episode, so Dunk, who's a hedge knight, buries his master Sir Arlen the Penny Tree, and keeps his sword and three horses. So basically, he prepares for a tourney, and then he meets some bald kid and convinces him to like feed the horses. And basically, the kid plays on the horse, and Dunk talks to him, learns that they're both orphans. The kid has to be a squire. Dunk says no. So the steward of Ashford directs Dunk to Sir Manfred Dundarian so that he could qualify for attorney. But Dunk asks these two whores where Manfred's at, but Manfred is sleeping, and he's mocked as a hedge knight. So Dunk uh, comes across Sir Stefan Fossaway, and but later like he befriends like Fossaway's cousin and Squire Raymond, and then Dunk eats and dances in the Sir Lionel Baratheon's tent. So yeah, so this is like early like introducing. So basically, this is like starting like the stuff that introduces how you know Duncan. Like this is a very low stakes story. Like the Duncan Egg novels. I mean, they are very important. Like they do have an impact, especially the stuff that George R. R. Martin still hasn't written because George R. R. Martin's a lazy prick who doesn't finish his books. Yes, I said he should get. He says, "Oh, I don't want someone else to write it. Then finish it yourself, you lazy cocksucker." Gosh, like Dunkin' Eggs, another unfinished series along with the main series. He should just finish those instead of whining and make like gosh. And yeah, so obviously this has a lot more humor than other Song of Ice and Fire like adaptations, but that is supposed to. Yeah, so basically, yeah, so I that and so and yeah, so Egg, that's the squire. And so Dunk agrees to let Egg be a squire for the tournament, and then now for a turn, not after. We'll see what happens after. Well, people who are familiar with the lore know what happens, as some of the previews have shown. So things are going to get very interesting. Like yeah, like things are going to get very interesting. I will say because like Duncan, even though he's a hedge knight, like and like very yeah, and so one difference between this and Dunkin' Egg and the main series is that so Dunkin' Egg is an unfinished series. Like is another unfinished book series by George R. R. Martin. The difference between this series and the main series is that some of the stuff that takes place in that would take place in later Dunkin' Egg books is written in other like in universe like reference books. Like some of the stuff is written, so a lot of that can be used to help while they don't have like and with the Duncan Egg with a lot of Duncan Egg books not being finished. And I guess George R. R. Martin gives them some notes. I don't know. I mean, Martin's had some issues with some HBO showrunners, as we've heard about his comments about Ryan Condell. But with this having reference books to help with that, that's more material than like let's say what Weiss and Benioff had. You know, when they had to go past A Dance with Dragons because George R. R. Martin's a lazy prick who doesn't finish his books. Yeah. So yeah, I thought this was a good episode. Good start. Like a lot more lighthearted than other I than compared to like the rest of the other Ice and Fire Song of Ice and Fire shows like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. Yeah, overall I thought it was a good episode. Um, looking forward to the next one. Well, that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.